and welcome to Woman with Elder Valerie. Yes, I am Elder Valerie Brown. I'm so happy to be here with you today, and I am extra excited to have as my guest for today, you know it, my daughter-in-law, Keisha Brown. Keisha, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about you. I know a lot of our audience really already knows you, but for those who may not, let them know a little bit about you. Other than she made the best decision of her life to marry my son. But tell us about your professional career, your children, all those good things.
Absolutely. So thank you again for having me. I'm a graduate of Hampton University, and then I went on, I know. I've been saying behold way too much this year. So
That's right. That's right.
I'm going to stick with the Hampton Blue, but I'm a proud graduate of Hampton University. Then I went on to Eastern Virginia Medical School and got my PA degree. So I'm a practicing licensed physician assistant in the state of Virginia. And so I currently practice medicine and urgent care, which I absolutely love. My background includes OB, so I did that for 5 years. And I just enjoyed being able to take care of women all over Hampton Roads. But now I'm in urgent care, and I love that. It's different. I see something new every single day. And I love my job. I'm the practice manager also of that practice.
Yay,
so I get to
congratulations.
Yes, thank you. So it's a learning experience, but I'm excited about just the trajectory. And then, of course, I'm a wife, married to your son. And so we've been married for 11 years now.
Wow.
Been in the family for 17 plus years.
Woo.
I know, oldest Bentley.
Yes. Our dog, yes.
And then 3 beautiful children that God has blessed us with, Jackson, KJ, James, and then Kennedy.
Yes, very, very nice. And I got to tell y'all, it is a blessing to have a medical profession in your family. Now, she gave you a little bit of background. You know, she told you she was OB, and she told you she was urgent care. You know, I've been to it all. Yep, she has seen it all. She's been my OB, but it's good to have somebody that know you, right? And then for every other illness I've had, I've gotten on the phone and said, Doc Keish, can you check me out? Can you get me in real quick? So it is a blessing to have a physician or someone in your family with some medical expertise. And you've even helped us, even at the hospital with my mom, helping to give us advice as an advocate and things like that. So it is just wonderful. And I just thought this would be a great opportunity to share with you some of the benefits that I've been fortunate to have by having her in the family. So we wanted to talk today a little bit about health for women. What are some of the things that you as a woman need to be sure that you are doing to take care of yourself? Right. Because as we know, we all know, I know men may be on this watching, but if they not, even if they are, we know women run the household. Aren't that right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I was listening to Steve Harvey, I think it was Steve Harvey, on Instagram. And there was a post because he was talking about marriage.
Right.
And he said, yeah, everybody wants to talk about marriages 100, 100. And he looked right in the camera. He said, I know men going to get mad at me. He said, but marriage is not 100, 100. And then he just paused. Because everybody's waiting for, okay, 50-50, what are you going to say? He said, marriage is 80-20. He said, and women do 80% of the work. He said, and y'all can get mad if you want. He said, but women run the household. In fact, before we even started today, you were already talking about what your morning has been like. You haven't had a chance to eat, but you had to get your kids out. You had to get them ready for school. You had to pack their lunches. You had to get the birthday cakes and all those good things together. And Steve said, me and y'all go to work and come home, maybe bring home a paycheck. And y'all think y'all have done y'all job, but the wife is still getting the baths, making the dinner.
Exactly.
So with that being said, that's why we have this show called Woman to Woman. We're going to give you some advice on your health, how you can stay healthy so that you can continue to run that household.
Absolutely.
And we're going to talk about health. We're going to talk about finances. We're going to talk about all the things that women potentially do and why health is so important to that. So come on, tell us some of the maybe medical exams and things that women really need to do just as the basic bottom line for taking care of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I live that every single day. I am going to throw my husband a bone. Because he does help with lunches.
Good.
Every single day, so he prides himself on that. So all the other stuff, I'm going to take credit for it.
Right.
No, but in all reality, you know, women, we do so much. And we stay in overdrive a lot because we're trying to make sure that our family has everything we need. And sometimes we neglect those basic things that we need to do. So example, breast exams or getting our pap smears. I mean, those are routine exams that we need to make sure that we're stewarding our bodies. Obviously, the Bible tells us that our body is a temple and that we are supposed to steward it, that we were bought with a price. And so it's so important to make sure that those things are taken care of, because you can lose track of you trying to take care of everybody else. And if you don't take care of you, then you're no good to anybody else.
That's so true. So true.
And so even personally, I mean, yes, I have seen it all. And people say, you know, how do you do your mother-in-law's pap smear?
And people ask me, how can I go to you? But I'm like, I like going to somebody that I know. Then that way I can say, oh, ease up, nope, right, this way, left, right.
Exactly. And to me, as a provider, once you've seen one, you've seen them all.
That's
and
true.
So,
I'm sure.
I think that it's so important that, you know, obviously you even take your initiative to make sure with all that you've accomplished that you still steward your body. And so we'll do a mammogram event here at the Mount.
Yes.
And you'll make sure that you're one of the ladies signed up to get your mammogram, just as an example of the importance. And I cannot tell you how many women have been diagnosed with a further stage of cancer because they simply did not get their mammogram.
Wow.
I mean, it's so important, y'all, to just make sure you're checking your breasts on a routine basis in the shower. You go for your pap smear. Like, that one decision can literally change your life. And so we think about, oh, you know, I'm okay, I don't have a family history. And sometimes you don't know that you have a gene.
You might be the first one.
Exactly. And so I can't stress how important it is to make sure you just go get your cholesterol checked. You know, we're eating shrimp and fried chicken and Oreos and having a great time.
Yes, those steamed crabs all summer.
Yes, and your cholesterol's 300 and you don't know that you're at a risk for a stroke or a heart attack.
Wow.
You know, so it's like, oh my gosh, so mundane. I don't need to do this. But really, it is literally the key that will save your life and make sure that you have a long life. And then I ask my patients, you know, what's your secret? And they tell me, cook your food at home.
Okay.
Exercise and have a glass of wine.
Well, no, there you go. That's right up my line. I remember years ago, I had a physician who's now relocated, used to be a Mount partner, and she prescribed for me a glass of red wine. I was anemic and some things like that. And she said, you know, really, if you drink one glass of red wine every day, it will help with your blood circulation and other, you know, health benefits of red wine. And of course, I went home and told the good bishop that, and that was before I wrote my book, I'm a Christian and you can't do what? He said I needed to find a new doctor. So once again, you're emphasizing the benefits of red wine, and not from an alcoholic perspective, but simply because I guess what is it that red wine offers? Do you know?
It has certain like preservatol benefits in it that really are heart healthy.
Gotcha.
And so when we think about heart healthy foods, I mean, red wine really falls under that category and making sure that we keep our heart healthy. And so we talk about omega-3 fatty acids. You know, we talk about a number of health benefits, nuts and, you know, grains and things that really can make sure that we're keeping our bodies intact.
Yeah.
And those are the things that really make a difference in trying to make sure that we keep our blood nice and thin.
That's right.
We're not, you know, clogging it up with fried foods, fatty foods, and
all the good things I love.
Exactly, and it's so easy to do, but it's really so important to make sure that we're just preserving our life, and the way that we do that is bit by bit, increment by increment, with exercise and eating good. And I'm not saying don't eat fried chicken.
Yeah, and you're saying all the things that none of us want to do. Exercise, eat nuts, no fried foods. What are some of the tips? I mean, I know, you know, every time somebody talks about losing weight, you know, my first hand up, and then I always know. I know the basic. I mean, there's no magic pill. Stop eating.
Right.
Keep moving.
Right.
But how do we do that in such a busy world? I mean, you even talked about that, you know, just when you were listing those 3 things that we're supposed to do. How do we find the time to do that when we are so busy with everybody else? What's the key to that?
Honestly, you have to make time.
Okay.
I mean, that's a simple answer. I mean, because I even think about my life, but I also know that work can get so busy that I can burn myself out from work if I don't put the necessary momentum and fuel back into me.
Right.
And so I work most days 8 to 8, but some days I'll get up at 6 and go to the gym for 30 minutes.
Wow.
And yes, it's a sacrifice, but it's a sacrifice to preserve your life. And like I said, you can't be better for everybody else. You can't pour out if you're not getting refueled. And so when I exercise, I feel so
You really
much
do.
better.
You do after the fact. But when you also said another word that I hate, get up early. Get up early. I love my sleep. So I'm like, okay, well, I got to find another way to exercise or change,
you just have to like balance your schedule to say, okay, 2 days a week, I'm just going to walk for 30 minutes. Even if you can't get to a gym, go in your neighborhood and simply walk. Walk your dog. You know, the nature is refreshing. Getting outside, the fresh air, cardio, just 30 minutes of it. That's all you need really is 3 times a week. And so
that sounds so
we
good.
make it so, you know, we blow it
like
up.
A big
yeah, like
deal.
it's such a big deal, but it's really not. You could do it by walking at work.
Yeah, that's true.
Making sure you calculate your steps.
If you're at the computer, get up, walk around the building, walk outside instead of eating that big unhealthy lunch.
And then you'll find that at work, you know, you don't have that 2 o'clock drag because you've exercised and you're not sleeping. You can't get through the rest of the day.
Wow.
So all those things are simple things. I know we worry about our hair, ladies. You know, I just got my hair pressed out.
That's the next biggie.
Exactly. So, you know, for me, I just try to make sure that I ramp up my exercise time on the weeks when I don't need to get my hair done. But again, I'm just saying find simple ways that you can incorporate a heart-healthy lifestyle so that you can still show up as the best version of yourself.
That sounds really good. Okay, now we've talked a lot about our physical health, you know, what we eat, what we exercise, what we do. But in today's society, there's a lot of conversation around our mental health. And obviously you watch the news, you see a lot of mass shootings and bullying and things that are going on that are causing people to have depression and stress and really what we consider unnecessary anxiety that, you know, I feel like we didn't have as much of in my generation, that pressure. So talk to us about mental health. How can we recognize that we are the ones struggling with mental health or even maybe seeing it in some of our friends or coworkers? What can we do? How do we diagnose it? Well, not diagnose because we're not the physician, but how can we tell some of the symptoms and know that someone is at that point?
Well, I think in what they communicate, some people may share, some people may not share. One of the biggest signs of depression can be retreating. And so people may retreat or not open up or get quiet, and you could just tell that something is off with them. So that could be a sign to just reach out to a family member or a coworker to say, hey, is anything going on? But I think a big issue that is plaguing our generation is social media. I mean, we talk about it all the time, but, you know, even back in the day when I was in college, like we had to be in college to get on Facebook or Instagram. And so now everybody has access. 12, 13-year-olds are on TikTok and social media. And so it's really setting a different mindset about, you know, what they should obtain, who they should be like, what they're striving for. And so they get confused. And then they set up this notion of I'm supposed to have this when it's unrealistic.
You know,
and so then the mental health kicks in.
It really does. And when you said that, that made me think back to, and I guess there's wisdom, and as we say, with age, because I know when I was younger, my parents used to tell me about different things I watched on TV. You know, we didn't have social media, obviously, but what we watched on TV, what we listened to on the radio, what we listened to, you know, in music, all of that. And the typical answer was, y'all don't know what you're talking about. That's not influencing me. And as I've gotten older now, you know, I recognize that my thought process, especially now as I interact with other people and how they think or how they don't think, when you really get down into the conversations about who they've hung around with, the conversations they've had, the things they've watched, it really has impacted the way they think. But hold your thought. I want us to talk about that a little bit more. This is going to be really, really good. How social media may actually be impacting what you think, what you say, and how you are reacting. Right now, we're going to give you a little bit more information about the resources that we're offering you at kwbrownministries.org. We'll be right back.
For 2 years, K.W. Brown Ministries has been working tirelessly to give you exactly what you need. You've asked for it. Tools for hope. Tools for information. Tools for inspiration. Stay tuned for October 9th, 2022.
Welcome back to Woman to Woman. today my guest is Dr. Keisha Brown. We're so excited to have her. She is a physician assistant, and she's helping us to have a great conversation and dialogue about women's health. Women's health both physically, mentally, and financially, because we know women run the household. Right before the break, we were just beginning to talk about how social media might be impacting our mental health. So Keisha, why don't you go ahead and pick up again right where you were? We were talking about whether or not social media really impacted you.
Right.
And I was sharing that as a kid. My parents used to say there was no social media, but the radio, the television, who I hung with, the conversations I had, all framed my thought process about things that I thought were good or bad, and it either made me happy or it depressed me.
Right.
And now you're saying it's social media that's basically doing the same thing. Talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. And social media, music, I mean, the things that we're listening to, the things that really are being poured into our spirit, and you don't realize how big of an effect it really has on you. And so you could see a post about somebody getting a new car or somebody getting a new house, and it's like, man, I don't have a new house.
Right.
Man, I don't have this type of car.
Yeah.
Or, I wish that I had this. And then you start to, think about these things and internalize them. And then you become less grateful for the things that you have.
Right.
And then the entire time it's really affecting your mental space. And so you wonder why I'm anxious, or I feel depressed, or I got to go get a new job, or my husband's not doing enough, or my children aren't performing enough. And it's like you're constantly comparing everything you see to what you really are living, and then it creates an issue where you're going to the doctor now for anxiety or depression, or you may not go to the doctor, and then one day you snap and you're like, how did I even get here?
Yeah. Well, I think I don't know, you tell me. I mean, to sit here and listen to you, I'm like, oh, wow, we need to make everybody get off social media.
Right.
We know that's not going to happen.
Right.
So, and maybe it needs to. How do we, as the woman over a household, your spouse, because I know there are some spouses, we've done counseling, that stays on the internet, you know, in social media or whatever. Your kids, every kid I know has an iPad that's on YouTube or somewhere. I mean, that's become our world. How can we, as a woman in the household, minimize the social impacts of social media? What are some of the things we can do that we can get away with?
I mean, well, number one, you have to take breaks. You have to. I think that's important, just to decompress, to just get in tune with what's important, to re-centralize yourself, your family, your household. Same thing with my kids. I make sure and I didn't always do this. I'm not gonna say I'm some amazing parent,
right?
But I mean, this year specifically, I made sure that KJ he's not allowed to watch social media or iPad during the week.
Okay.
Homework only. You can have it on the weekends, but you have to minimize what's being poured in, because everything that's being poured in, it's gonna come out in some shape, form, or fashion.
Right.
And so I think it goes for the same thing, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're married, whether you're single and you're waiting for your Boaz to come, like all of those things will make you feel like, you know what, I just don't have it. And that's not the case. And so we have to make sure that we're putting a limit on that. The other thing with social media is the algorithms are set up. So once you start watching a certain thing, it's going to continue to feed more of that thing to you.
Yeah.
And you don't realize that.
Now, I noticed that with something, if I Googled, I don't know, a certain pair of shoes, every time I go up there, that shoe comes back, or it's over here in an ad. I'm like, what's
Your
the
phone
odds?
is listening.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, that is amazing.
It is. And so you just have to be super careful and strategic about how you're going to manage your time. You need to look at how much time you're spending. Instagram gives you, your phone gives you how much time you're spending, so that you can realize that I'm not wasting energy here looking at somebody else's life when I could be productive starting my own business. I could be productive studying or doing something else that will help me get or generate a return on my investment. And so those are the things that I think we have to be strategic about, because you're watching them make money when you could be doing it if you put your brain to an
In fact,
idea.
you're helping them make money, because they're getting the likes or whatever that shows that so many people are following them. That's how they become an influencer. So you're actually helping them to do that.
Right.
Well, you talked about personally, getting off of social media, guarding our time, and the same thing with your kids. And I know we're probably spilling over into a parenting show right now, but you made me think about as a parent, we cannot be afraid for our children to get mad at us. You know, be the parent, not the friend,
Right.
and take that iPad. You know,
Right.
I thought it was a great idea about not letting them be on there during the week, but only on the weekend and only if they've done their homework and things
Right.
like that, which is really good. And I think that's one of the pressures that society is once again putting on parents. So we have all these pressures that we've talked about,
Right.
and now society in itself is putting pressure on a parent because it's difficult to say no to a child when all of their friends
Exactly.
are trying to contact them on the iPad
Yes.
because they can get on the iPad
Right.
and they can't. So it's
Absolutely.
really tough to do that.
It is.
So we talked about physical, we've talked about mental. Mental and emotional kind of go together in terms of your thought process and your
Right.
thinking, and you've helped us with that. But I want to take the last few minutes that we have and talk about the finances. You know, that's near and dear to
Yes.
me. And as a woman in the household, we've already talked about women tend to have a large portion of their time and their responsibilities that always seem to have a financial impact.
Absolutely.
Even if you're not the one writing out the bills or taking care of the paycheck, decisions that you make within the household impact your finances. And one of the
Absolutely.
ones that you alluded to at the very beginning was cook at home. I heard you say that. That was one of the wellness checks that you were saying that women are actually healthier, or everybody is actually healthier if you cook at home. Well,
Right.
cooking at home, we know, reduces the amount of money that you spend
Absolutely.
eating out.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about finances. And we can talk about eating out, but what are some of the other things that as a woman we can do to help steward our household to be healthy financially?
Absolutely. Well, I think number one, not put pressure on our husband to buy things that we can't afford.
That's good.
So
That's
I think
good.
that's always a big deal.
Now, but who makes that? I mean, that's a mouthful right there, because I can hear some people saying, well, he can afford that. He can afford that. You know, because somebody has to be looking at the whole big picture
Right.
to determine whether you can afford it. Because just because the money is in the bank
Right.
does not necessarily mean you can afford it,
Right.
given the big scope. So
Right.
how do you help women or men, either one, whoever's asking
Right.
for that item,
Well,
to make that decision?
And I think, you know, one of the big things is that you've taught us, you know, like you said, just because the money is there doesn't mean you have to spend it. But I think about long-term things. And so when it's time to go somewhere and you want to go on a trip or you want to do something big,
Right.
then all of those little things that you could have bought the bag or you could have went and splurged here, it's like, now I want to go on a trip. Well, I have the money
Right.
to be
Because
able to
you
actually
didn't.
enjoy it because
Right.
I've saved and I invested. And then the same thing with just building your savings account. Oh my gosh, you know, at first it was like, I got the money, it's burning a hole in my pocket to get it out. But as you grow and mature, it's like, man, it actually looks good sitting in my account.
doesn't
Like,
it?
my
I know,
goodness,
right?
like, I have this much. And so I think
Yeah,
we have
yeah.
to like change our mindset about, oh, I have the money and I can spend it and I can buy that Chanel,
Right.
or let the Chanels add up and then look at the money that you have now that you've saved. And then what if something catastrophic happens,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And then you don't have the money to be able to do what you need to do. And now you have to use a credit card. Now you have to get in debt because you can't pay it off. And so it's all cyclical because, you know, one decision has a domino effect on everything else. And so I think as the woman of the household, it's important to think about those things. I'm not saying, you know, don't buy your kids certain things, but do they need, you know,
15 pair of jeans or
Right.
15 pair of shoes
exactly.
or right.
So I think all of those things are just things that we have to be super cognizant about as the woman of the household, because we really help make or break our family.
I think now of the acronym, I think it's CREAM, Cash Rules Everything Around Me, CREAM. And that is taking us full circle for our conversation today, because you just hit on the health, okay, of eating right and eating at home, which has a financial implication. Well, we're all the way back around to health, because if we eat out too much, or if we don't control our bodies, or if we don't go for the physical exams that we talked about, we may be out of work. If we're out of work, then we've impacted potentially our income, because we might be leave without pay depending on what job we have. Or if we don't have insurance, we need to even talk about that. I hope someone is working on a job where they have insurance, because if you don't have insurance, now I've got a huge financial bill, which might be some of the reason why people don't go for exams.
Right.
They don't have insurance.
Right.
They've got to come out of pocket.
Right.
They don't have the money because they haven't been a good steward
Right.
of managing their finances so that they could pay to go to the doctor. So, I mean, we've come full
Literally.
circle to
Literally.
show, right, that how one decision over here, health-wise,
Right.
that we may not think has a financial implication, really does in the long run if we get sick. And, you know, now as our parents are getting older, and I say parents, as I'm getting older, we're all getting older and the bodies are aching and pain, and we're talking about long-term care and things like that. We've become to really understand how important
Yes.
stewarding your finances well in your household can be.
Absolutely. And everything's so expensive.
Whew,
So, I
I
mean,
know.
imagine, you know, you go to the grocery store and you think about spending a lot. But if you do that 5 times a week out to eat, my goodness.
Absolutely.
And then not only do you spend a lot, but then think about all the inflammation that happens in your body because you've eaten out so many different places. Fast food, honestly, produces a lot of inflammation in the body.
Wow.
So, I mean, you think about every aspect of this decision. It's like, man, do I really want to do this?
Wow.
I'd rather go to Food Line or Kroger and make the groceries than actually go out to eat 5 times a week. And so I totally agree that it's full circle, that every decision we make is going to have some impact, whether it's mental, whether it's financial, whether it's on our health. And we have to make sure that we're really thinking about our decisions because ultimately they affect how we live and operate every single day, but then long term, how we see ourselves in the future and how we want to live and be comfortable.
That's true. That's true. We really have to think today for the future. I know younger people think, well, the future is so far away until, you know, you hear us say all the time, we went to bed at 30 and we woke up 60.
Right.
And it was like overnight. And all of a
Right.
sudden our body is aching because now we have to think back to when we were in our 20s and 30s. Were we really taking care of our body the way we should have so that when we reached 60, we were there?
Right.
But one point you also made, I just want to come back to that just a little bit because we hear people talk about all the time, I don't want to make groceries because grocery shopping is so expensive. But you made me think about, you know, you go to a restaurant, and if it's a family of 4, you might spend $100, $150 at a restaurant eating a meal.
Right.
And I thought about that. You know, you can go to the grocery store because you can get a cooked whole rotisserie chicken, $8.
Right.
Let's just say even 10. You
Right.
get the herb roasted crusted chicken.
Right.
$10, but that's feeding your family for that whole day, one day.
Right.
So even that one meal that you've eaten and gone home could be groceries for the week, depending on what you get. Now, granted, you're not going to go to the grocery store and buy steaks, but you can buy a hamburger. You can get that chicken that's already cooked for parents who are in a rush, because I hear them saying, I can't cook because I don't have time. Get that already cooked rotisserie chicken and throw some veggies in there. And we talk about on the weekend or whenever, depending on your schedule, cook a whole pot of collard greens or cook a whole pot of butter beans or whatever your veggies are for the week, and then you're just heating them up and you're just adding something to it. So there are always smart ways of how you can manage eating at home and being good with your finances.
Absolutely. And I want to say one more thing about finances. I want to make sure that the person that's out there listening right now, you know, if you're going for a job and they're offering you benefits, don't not sign up for the benefits because you think you're going to save money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Benefits are so important.
Yes, because
they're
you
critical.
just never know what may happen, and you think you're saving $1,000 when you may be costing yourself $15,000 if you get sick. So I just wanted to say that quick financial tip.
That is so good. Well, Keisha, I want to thank you so much for being with me today. This was good information. You know we're going to have her back because there were so many things we talked about today that we could have elaborated more on. So don't forget, come back, watch us again. But today, this is Woman to Woman with Elder Valerie.